Hi there, this is Linda and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. In today's video, I'm putting together my Project Life spread for May 4th through May 10th, and I'm using the Storyteller kit from the first quarter of 2026 from Ali Edwards. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so this is the week of May 4th through 10th. I apologize for the funny, weird shadows over here. Pumpkin, my cat, was lounging here, enjoying the sun. You can see his tail still poking into the screen. And I didn't want to move him, but I really wanted to work on this spread. So he's either going to move or he'll lay back down. We'll see. Hopefully it's not too distracting. I know some of you guys find him cute, so I'm hoping you guys are happy with the fact that he's there during my video. So this week, I am working with the first Storyteller kit from 2026, which I think Ali is calling the 5th Storyteller kit. And this one I had planned out way back when I planned with that kit. And I was going to use it probably in, I think, March or April. And this one I had planned to do a daily photo. So here's the products I have for this spread. Just pull them out. And we have these days of the week words. And these would work really well for week in the life if you don't want to do something like this in your project life. But I really like the idea of doing a daily photo. However, I really struggled with it this time. I've done this in the past and I wanted to do a daily photo of my morning coffee. And I didn't do it the previous weeks that I tried and switched up the kit I wanted to use. Partially because I had other stuff going on, and spending 7 photos in a spread on coffee wasn't ideal for a week that I had other things going on. If you have a lot of spreads where you don't have a lot going on during the week, that's a great way to do your spread, is to do like a photo a day and do, your morning coffee, your dinner, your outfit. There's so many things you could do that are just, a photo a day. This week, I ended up spending most of the time alone at home, and that worked really well for me because I didn't have a lot of photos of like nothing really happened. I did a lot of lounging. I worked on a puzzle. I made myself some ice cream. I drank my coffee. So it was a week that I could do my coffee photos. That said, I missed a couple of the days. Let's see, I've got Sunday, I've got Thursday, I've got Friday, and then we've got, I think this one is Monday. And that's it on the coffee photos. So I've got 4 coffee photos, which is a good amount. Because I'm doing the 9x12 size this year, I can't do all the way across the center. If you do 12x12, you've got 8 3x4 pockets across the middle. It's perfect for the 7 days of the week, plus a filler, a title or something like that. And then you have the top and bottom rows for more things. For the 9x12, there's not as many pockets. So doing a photo a day uses up a lot more of your spread. And I decided I was okay for this week, and I was okay only doing 4 coffee photos. I did actually take a couple more, but they were repetitive and boring and I didn't like them. So I decided to skip them. And instead I used some photos of my puzzle. So I did a puzzle Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And so I decided I'm going to use those for my Tuesday, Wednesday photos. Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and then Saturday I'm thinking I'm going to do one of these flowers. So these are probably just around, these are in my yard. So this week I had a lot of themes. I have my coffee, I've got my puzzle, and then I've got a lot of tulips because it is May and I got tulips from the store, and I have tulips in my yard. And yeah, so I have a couple of these. So I have this around here. I'm thinking, looking on this one and this one for there maybe. And then, let me see. So I have off camera my sketch of what I wanted this spread to look like. And you'll have to check out the classroom for that because I can't share that here because it is paid content in that Storyteller classroom, but you will see my completed spread come together. I have this for my title card, and I put a couple of these frames in thinking I could use these for journaling. So I'm gonna put them like maybe like that. And then this one, maybe I'll put that there. And then I have this card. I was thinking I could do some journaling in there. And then I have a couple other photos. And then I have a couple blank spots. Originally, I thought maybe I would do more photos or journaling on those, but I think what I'm gonna do is go into my stash and find some filler cards for these. And I also need some sort of background there. I'm thinking maybe I could do something with stamping that might be fun. And yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I'll probably put some like white behind these and do some journaling in each of those and journaling in here, or maybe stamping. I'm thinking I could do some stamping about how I was home by myself all week, or maybe make this kind of that overview story. And then my journaling can be, you know, my bullet point list of like little stories from the week, and then maybe themed stories about being by myself all week. I'm not sure. I haven't figured that one out yet, but I do like this as a starting place. I am going to figure out what I want to put in these two spots in my stash, and then I'll start putting this together. So I'm going to go ahead and put you guys on voiceover so that I can get this one done. Okay, so I'm starting by looking through cards in my stash, and I have a separate video sharing how I organize my Project Life cards. That video is a few years old, but it is still accurate. I'm considering refilming that and doing an updated version. So if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments and any specific questions you have that I could answer in that video. Anyway, so here what I'm doing is I'm going through a few of my themed card sets. I think this one is me. So I do have my Project Life cards sorted by whether they're journal or filler cards. And then within each of those categories, I have specific themes. So I think this one is like me and personal growth. And I'm going through that. And I think I also go through the home one, or maybe I don't. I was thinking of going through the home one, but I decided not to because I did end up picking a few from here. You can see I'm making a small pile to the top of my stack, above my stack, which are ones that I'm considering for this spread. So I'm thinking about sentiments that work, colors that work with the kit and all of the products and photos that I'm using, and that balance with the spread. So I picked these two that I ended up laying out on I was considering that one as well, but I have that one on the right there. I picked that. It says, "You are exactly where you need to be," which is just a nice sentiment. And I felt like it worked really well right there because it was very light colored, and it's between 3 separate photos that are very dark and colorful. So I thought it provided some good balance. The one on the left-hand side, I think, is from the Bloom Story Kit, and it says, "My story includes chapters where I rest and chapters where I bloom." And I thought the colors worked really well with this spread. It still has some white in it to help balance, but I don't need as much white on that side as I did on the right-hand side because the photos next to it have more white in it, so it felt a little bit more balanced. Then I pulled out these old 4x6 paper pads I have from Studio Calico. I'm just trying to use up my stash. And this one had this nice polka dotted pattern paper in it. So I just cropped one down. They are 4x6, so I could have just used that, but I just cropped a strip off and put it behind because I don't need the full 4x6 for that pocket. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know why I didn't just leave it 4x6 and use the full thing. But I wanted to adhere the photo and that card together to put in that 4x6 pocket on the top of that spread. This spread, when I initially planned it, I planned it to use all 3x4 pockets, but the right-hand side ended up having some 4x6 pockets just based on what page protector I wanted for the next week. But that's okay. I can put 2 3x4s together in a 4x6 pocket. I just can't put a 4x6 in a 3x4 pocket. So that's something to keep in mind when planning out your spreads and deciding what page protectors, is to think ahead of what you're going to want for the next week. I'm just going ahead and adhering down some of these die cuts onto my photos. I like to just kind of move around on the spread as I know what I want to do. Now at this point, I have all of my cards selected. I know what the spread is going to look like, and it's just a matter of going through and adding my words and my embellishments and bringing it all together. I am going to add my dates on this title card. Normally I start there. For some reason I didn't this week, I think because I was really focused on filling all of the pockets, which I guess that's usually what I do first. I just tend to do that before I end up in on this voiceover portion. But I guess my first step when I get to my desk is putting a base in each of the pockets, and then I work on filling the pockets, usually starting with my title card. I'm adhering these frames down on top of this white cardstock that I trimmed to 3x4, and I'm just trimming the excess off. There's a little bit on that edge there, and I'm going to use these for journaling. For this card here, like I said, I'm going to adhere these together. I'm going to pull over, I think, my ruler just to make sure that I have it at the 6-inch mark when I adhere this down, so it does actually fill the pocket correctly. And then that Moments card, which was the center of the frame in the kit, I'm going to use that as a base for some journaling. I'm going to do some stamping on it, and what I end up doing, you'll see in a little bit, is I pull over an alpha stamp set to decide which one I want to use. Normally I would pull over my stamp organization system to pick a set, but this is a brand new set that I got. This is coming from the travel release from Allie Edwards that is going to be releasing soon. It might already be released by the time you're watching this, depending on when you're watching the video. And I decided to use this one because I love it. I think it's just a great size. I love alpha stamp sets, but I have all of the alphas are awesome from Allie Edwards, and I love them, but they're so big. So they're great for traditional layouts. They're not necessarily as good for Project Life. This one is a perfect size for Project Life. I love the font. I think this is going to be in my rotation very frequently. So I use this to stamp Home Alone on there, and I'm going to add a little bit of journaling about the fact that I was home alone Monday through Friday because my boyfriend was gone for work, and that doesn't happen very often. I am a complete introvert and homebody, and I like having my boyfriend around, but it's also super nice to have a week to myself. I've not lived alone much in my life, so having that alone time is really great because I had my daughter pretty young, so she was always around, and now she's an adult and doesn't live at home, so it's just nice. Anyways, so if you've been around, you know I'm kind of a journaler as well as a scrapbooker, and recently I've been wanting to kind of overlap my supplies a bit more. So what I decided to do to fill that little extra spot there is add a sticker from my journaling stickers on there of a little icon of a house, and this is from the Coffee Monster Co. It is a vellum or washi paper sticker, so it's translucent. And I didn't want to put it just directly on the pink because it got lost, so I added some white washi tape to create a little base for it. And then I'm also going to add a couple of tiny attacher staples just to add a little bit of texture and make it look like it fits. And I'm going to go with that. Next, I'm going to move on to the journaling cards. I decided this one I'm going to use for a bullet point list, and then this other one I'm going to use to journal about the weekend. So we had a few things going on the weekend, and I decided that that would make a nice journaling card. I also, because I already used the stamp set, I decided that I wanted to use it again because I like having that repetition across the spread. So I'm going to stamp weekend on here. This is where Pumpkin starts interfering quite a bit. If anyone has a cat, they know sometimes they just like their tail, it does all sorts of things. So his tail just kept whipping across my spread, knocking everything out of order. I kept trying to fix it. And I ultimately am like, this is just not going to work. When I try to push his tail out of the way, he gets annoyed because he's like, what are you doing? Why are you messing with my tail? He doesn't understand that his tail is messing with my stuff. So what I decided to do is just start sliding stuff in pockets. You can see I tried to like move him and he's like, nah, I'm good. So I start trying to slip stuff in pockets to get it out of his way. And of course, once I do that, then he moves. So it's not even necessary, but I'm just going to stick it out. And then I'm going to go back and do the stamping on that card. I tend to not slip things in the pockets till the very end typically, but for this one I did because Pumpkin was just getting in the way, and it just keeps everything more orderly having it in the pockets rather than laid on top. Sometimes I feel like my desk gets too cluttered or I need to move stuff around. So slipping it in the pockets just makes it feel a little more organized. I'm stamping out the word weekend here, And then I'm going to journal just about our weekend. We ran some errands, nothing super exciting, but just relaxing. We hung some art around the house. I did some cleaning. I did some crafting and journaling and just like had a nice weekend. And I just wanted to journal about what the weekend was like, because that's kind of the whole point of Project Life, right? To just include details of everyday life, which I really, really love. So after I finished this one, I'm going to go ahead and move on. For that pink frame, I'm going to do a bullet point list, which essentially means I'm going to add a bullet point where I just add all those little micro stories from the week. Because the weekend is accounted for on this other frame card, that bullet point list is going to be stories from the main part of the week and just essentially kind of how I spent my week when my boyfriend was gone, which was, what I made for myself. I cooked some soup. I made ice cream. I did a puzzle. I watched Grey's Anatomy. And then I did have some work stuff that I journaled about as well, and a pretty, relaxing but busy week, which was really nice. Now I'm moving on to adhering down some of these die cuts on the right-hand side just to bring it together. I like to give my hand a break between the various journaling cards so that I don't get tired of journaling. I've talked about this before, but doing the journaling in Project Life is my least favorite part of the Project Life spread, which is weird because I am a journaler and I love journaling. But for whatever reason in Project Life, I don't like that part. I think because it takes the most time and I have to kind of slow down and focus on it rather than the overall spread. Unfortunately, I ended up pausing my footage to respond to some text messages, and then I did not unpause. So I lost the last bit of this process video, but thankfully it wasn't too much. So I'm going to pop back on and talk through kind of how the rest of this spread came together. Okay, so I accidentally paused the camera at the end and missed the last bit, but I just added in some journaling here. I used my take a note as a reference for little stories from the week, and then just added in some colored word phrase strips from my stash to a few of the photos and got everything put in the pockets. So you didn't miss much. I apologize for losing that footage. That is the problem with pausing the video when you get a text message to respond and then you forget to unpause. So sorry about that, but here's a look at that completed spread. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Bye.